Well, it is that time again, everybody. How you are doing? Well, my name is birddogjon, and I am back in action.
In those scenarios, it's good to neuralize the cameras. You guys know that best.
Very straightforward. Plug it in, go to the web UI, link the source, walk away. You know, like super simple. I keep looking over at the chat, and I keep seeing you are full of it. Tasty, spicy meat snacks. Covered in flavor. I mean, you can't go wrong. So what's going on? We've got a handful of folks here in the chat, and I really appreciate that. What's up, mate? Hey, Warren, how are you? Appreciate it. Hey, Robbie, how's it going, man? We were just talking about you. What's going on, Tom? Ahoy. How is it going? What's going on, GoWeb? Good to see you again. Thanks for hanging out with us again today. Appreciate that. I feel like I'm in this video more than anyone but John. It's true, NetApp. You are, I'm going to cut this up and put this in the next intro. What's going on, everybody? I am indeed birddogjon, and here we go for another exciting and very fast hour of birddogjon live support, brought to you in partnership by Marmite, the spawn of Satan. We're going to try Marmite today, and I just want to listen to the show. I'm going to pull it up on YouTube and have a quick little listen. What's going on, everybody? Hey-oh, I'm there. All right, so let's live with that for now. Please let me know if you can't hear me. Now, I'm having issues with Twitch. I think I'm streaming to Twitch, but I'm having issues pulling up Twitch on this machine for some reason. And so it's causing issues with the socials aspect of, or social aspect of vmix. If I go over to twitch.tv and try and find it, it fails miserably. And so I click on the site, it doesn't load. I can go to YouTube, it loads just fine. I'm in the studio, just no issues, but definitely struggle busing to get to Twitch. And I don't know if that's anybody else's experience. Now it loads on my phone, and it shows that I am indeed live. And so if I go to the creator mode, evidently there's nothing wrong there. It shows that I'm live, and that's all good. But, yeah, I don't know what is happening here. So this machine does not like trying to get to Twitch. And if I even like click log out, won't do it. Won't do anything. If I click following, won't load the following page. If I click browse, it loads like kind of, and then it totally just fails completely. So all of the categories and everything, nothing comes up. So I don't know what is happening here. And the problem is that I need to log out of or log into it with Chrome, because that's where vmix social is being housed. But it keeps saying error loading data. So fun stuff. love it when that happens. If I go to like my own channel, it won't load my channel on this computer. So I am not able to see the chat on Twitch, which sucks because that's usually a pretty easy. That's an easy way for you guys to communicate. When I click on social, I click on log into Twitch, it never loads. So I wonder if, I don't know, I wonder if it doesn't like that I'm linking vmix social to my Twitch channel. I have no idea what the story is. So if you want to join us on the chat today, please come and join us over on birddogjon.tv, and that is indeed where you can join the live chat and all will be good. Now, right out of the gates, it's going to be a quick show. I have a plan that I'm going to show how to program presets using Companion and StreamDeck on a StreamDeck, but it's going to screw up all my settings for sure. So I'm going to do that today because I had a customer that asked me, hey, how can I access my StreamDeck, all my settings? Actually, what they asked was, how can I call presets while I'm on a remote campus? They are going to remote into the site and run the show when they're on a trip or something. And she's running a StreamDeck. And so I had this idea as to show StreamDeck programming presets, but also then running it over Emulator. So we're going to do that today, and I'll show you exactly how that is done. It's actually not that difficult. Don't be too intimidated by that, because it's actually a fairly simple process. And for those of you who are technically inclined, it'll be super, super easy. So good stuff. Pretty excited about all of that, and we will get to that. Now, the other thing is today is, if maybe you caught it, today's sponsor, unofficial sponsor, is indeed Marmite. And so I have my toast and I have my Marmite, and we're going to actually do this today. So brace yourselves, because yikes, I'm very nervous. I don't know what to do about this, but because I'm very nervous and I don't know how to feel about this, I want to get it over as quickly as I can. So we're going to run Snacks on Stream early, and then we're going to get to the tutorial and do all that stuff. So let's give this a try.
John's just making up stuff to start drama.
Look, I don't know.
Look at him.
Wish me luck, folks. It's my first Vegemite experience.
Final, this is like cheese flavor or something. It doesn't really look too appetizing.
Good golly, this is something else, man.
Here's the thing about Pop Rocks, and I don't know if I'm the only one like this. Pop Rocks have always been a social experience for me.
I did not think that is what you were going to say. That's hilarious.
That is awful. Oh, gosh, that's so bad. Jeez. Holy smokes, man.
Yeah, that was the Vegemite from before. So we're all planning on having that exact same reaction here today, and we will definitely see. But today we are trying Marmite, courtesy of Nick and Tarina from Holden. Nick openly admits that he doesn't eat it, but he would like me to. So I know this will make BirdDog Phil Lane's heart very happy. And here I am. It's still sealed up here, so we're going to break that seal and actually give this a go. And wish me luck, folks, because this is my first Marmite experience. Oh, that's not the texture I thought it was going to be. Okay. I'm going to move my keyboard out of the way, and let's get a proper overhead shot here going. So we're going to cut over here to the actual overhead P100. And now the instructions were, it needs to be on toast, heavily buttered, heavily buttered, and then the Marmite needs to be scraped over the toast in a very conservative fashion. So that is what we will do. I thought it was a solid. Is it a solid? I got a lot of butter on this knife, by the way. I thought it was a solid, but well, it's kind of a solid. It's more like a syrup. It definitely looks like molasses is what it looks like. So let me know in the comments if you think I'm going to enjoy this. I have no expectations about enjoying this because I don't think I will. But I have been instructed to then scrape it over the toast. And this may be a little bit too much. What is Marmite, you might ask? Well, evidently it is a yeast extraction during the beer making process. And so they just had so much left over from the beer making process that they decided to use the refuse of that process to make some sort of edible product, which I'm not too sure was a great idea, but I'm sure somebody was desperate for money and thought, I know, I'll make a yeast extract rich in B vitamins, and it's a vegan spread. So strike two. And I also don't know, it's supposed to wake up your taste buds. Now, full disclosure, I've had a very little amount of coffee. I have most of my coffee still here. I have another cup of black coffee just in case. And then I have a whole bunch of what looks like candy in the reserves for when this goes down. So, yeah, wish me luck. I don't know what this is going to taste like. I want to do the good old sniff test first. It doesn't actually smell bad. But it doesn't smell good. It doesn't smell like this is something I want to eat. But here we go. We'll give it a try. Oh. Now that I'm, well, all right, I've had half a piece of toast with heavy salted butter and today's non-sponsor, Marmite. Courtesy of the kind folks at Holden Distributing over in the UK and Europe. This is not the worst thing that I've eaten on this show. It is 100% not the best thing I've eaten on this show, but it does not. It's not as bad as people make it out to be. You know, when I wake up in the morning and I think, man, I'm famished. What shall I break my fast with this early morn? I don't believe this would ever come to mind. The back of the jar says, wake up your taste buds. Put the oomph in your breakfast. Who on earth is doing that for breakfast? There's only one place that this substance should be, and that is on people eating it as a challenge. This is not... Look. Oh, it hits you every once in a while. But it is not the worst thing. And a thick slab of butter really helps. Really helps. All right. Thank you, Nick and Tarina. What a treat that was. To wake up with such high expectations. No, okay, I'll tell you the story. I was about to walk out the door, and I begrudgingly went back and said, I have to get 2 pieces of bread and half a stick of butter, because I promised that I would try the Marmite on the show. And I have been ignoring it all morning. I was on a phone call until basically 11 o'clock and was making the toast while I was on the phone call, which was a great distraction from the inevitability that was the Marmite. But that's not the worst thing I've eaten. And if I was visiting Phil Lane in Europe and I was staying over at his house and he walked out with a piece of toast and butter and put it in front of me for breakfast and said, "Here you go, John. Good morning." I would eat it with a grateful heart, because it could be worse. It could 100% be worse. So, hey, not thumbs up for Marmite. If you don't have to, don't do it. But it is not the worst thing that you could possibly eat, especially the things that I've had to eat on this show. It's not the worst thing that I've eaten. It's not something that I will probably eat again. So maybe we'll save this for when the Europeans come to visit and make them feel like they're at home. That's a one and done situation is what that is. That's a one and done situation. So now our second non-sponsor of the day, Stanley Mugs. Keep your coffee hot for an exceptional amount of time, allowing you ample opportunity to forget about it all day long. That's actually not as hot as it used to be. So Stanley Mugs, slowly losing temperature over 4 hours. So I poured that coffee at like 6 a.m. So what time is it? 11? That's not too bad. What can you expect? However, I do have an open cup of coffee, which is pike roast from downstairs, because I was worried that the Marmite was going to do a number. And now I have Starbucks coffee, also not a sponsor of this show. I just made that, and it's less hot than that is. Oh, man. What a day. What a day, everybody. All right. Thanks for coming along for that little ride. Snacks on Stream. Always a fun little gag that we do here on the show, and I really appreciate you guys going to all that effort to send me this. I actually didn't enjoy that experience, but I didn't hate it. That was okay. I was expecting much worse. So, hey, if eating Marmite is a sign of respect and a nod to the Europeans, then there you go. Happy to oblige. Stephen, yuck. Yeah, it wasn't great. Hey, but good to see you. Thanks for enduring it with us. Oh my goodness. I worked on a farm in Scotland many years ago. We used to feed the cows the byproducts from the brewery. That seems about right. Yes, that is evidently what it is. And because I asked the Australians about Vegemite, and hey, it's loaded with vitamin B. It doesn't say how much, by the way. And it expires, wow, March 25th? Or is that March 2025? How long is the shelf life? It's made in Dublin. That's pretty cool. How long is the shelf life of Marmite? Always good to know. What is going on, GoWeb? Namaste. Welcome to the show. Greetings from India. GoWeb says, are you using StreamDeck and Companion on Raspberry Pi? And we are using StreamDeck and Companion on Raspberry Pi, and there is never an issue controlling the BirdDog 120 and ATEM SDI Extreme ISO, along with a few other devices. Connected to StreamDecks for ease. That's pretty cool. Hang on, I have a sound effect for that. Oh, wait, but I don't think it's on. Oh, yes, it is. This one. Oh, that didn't go out with the sound effects. Here we go. Try that again.
That's pretty neat.
That is pretty neat. Hello, Joshua. How's it going? Hello. Is this the support chat? I received an email from a support ticket I opened with BirdDog, and the auto reply said that I could go to the stream. Yes, this is an option. This is the actual support stream from 11 to 12 right here in the U.S. So if you have a question or something's going on, let me know. Be happy to give you a hand with that. It is literally a live chat. This Starbucks through K-Cup is not as good as that. We'll put it that way. Yeah, StreamDeck is an extremely versatile product, right? And it's really useful with Companion because Companion has a whole bunch of it's basically like an open source platform where it allows you to program StreamDeck to do a whole bunch of API commands. And so it's pretty great, and it gives us kind of a lot of versatility. So we are going to talk about that. However, I can stay for another 35, 40 minutes because the story goes, yesterday I was driving northbound on 75 and my truck stopped accelerating with my two kids in the car. And so I managed to keep going at about 60 miles an hour. But when we got off of the exit ramp, we lost all acceleration. So I had to have my truck towed yesterday, and it is currently sitting at the mechanics. They were unsure if they were going to get to the truck today, so might find out more tomorrow, but it sounds like a transmission issue, which would be amazing if it's that, because that's one of the most expensive parts of the vehicle. So who knows what it's going to cost to fix that. But, send me well wishes, pray for me, whatever it is that you do, I would appreciate it. Because it's going to be expensive, whatever it is. I could have dreamed of many ways to spend that money, but I'm sure this will be an investment in the vehicle's future and in my family's safety. So, what's the Garrison Keillor? That's what I always think of when I do that, Garrison Keillor. Is it the children are where the women are handsome? Is that the line? Where the women are and the I don't know. Now I can't remember. Come on, guys. Prairie Home Companion, anybody? And the children are above average? Is that the line? Oh, look. Okay, so maybe Chrome is malfunctioning because it's not. Here we go. Lake Wobegon. That is news from Lake Wobegon. Where all the women are. Welcome to Lake. Where all the women are strong, all the men are good looking, and the children are bubba. That's what he always does. He always mumbles the last part. And my wife and I always chuckle. And the women are good looking. Oh, I'm sorry. The women are strong. The men are good looking. And all the children are above average. It's supposed to be above average, but he grumbles the last part. So there you go. Okay, cool. So the cameras are NDI. And I can't seem to get control to work from the keyboard. VISCA over IP or NDI for control protocols. Okay. Keyboard requires basically a very specific NDI network to function correctly. First thing that you need to know, and there is a keyboard how to use it video on my birddogjon.tv site, and so you could always check that tutorial out as well. But the keyboard setup is essentially you need to be on a DHCP network, DHCP enabled, and the keyboard and the cameras all need to be issued DHCP addresses. If you insist on controlling the IP addresses, use what's known as the DHCP reservation list. The reason why we require a DHCP in this plug-and-play environment is because MDNS. MDNS is required for keyboard to work correctly. Now, if you cannot have a DHCP network for some reason, like you don't have a layer 3 router or anything like that operating on the network, and you are literally going into an unmanaged switch, which is a big no-no in NDI, by the way. But if you're going into an unmanaged switch, and you're running everything in static, then it is required, not an optional. It's not optional. It's required that you're running Discovery Server on a Windows PC or a Linux device. You have to be running Discovery Server, and the reason for that is because MDNS. Discovery Server basically turns into MDNS and takes the network data from the NDI devices and routes it to the physical locations. And you may say, well, it's just a flat unmanaged switch, whatever. Well, there's lots of problems with that. But initially, just right out of the gates, your network needs to know where to send all these packets. And we're not sending data like we are sending data even here to up to YouTube or whatever at 6 megs. We're sending 140 megs and metadata and audio channels and comms data and. So there's tons of data coming out of each of these. And so network is king when it comes to working correctly. If you're pressing the search button on the keyboard and you're saying NDI-IP and it's coming back with no results, it's because your MDNS isn't working, or perhaps you're in a static environment and you don't have a Discovery Server set up, or the installation isn't complete. I'll put it that way. So there is a specific video on keyboard and how that works and why we, specifically want to do that. Happy to find that for you if you'd like and put it in the chat. But yes, if keyboard not finding sources and not controlling cameras, or finding them initially and then dropping them and it says no in the corner, all of that has to do with your network not actually knowing who's on the network. And that is a big part of NDI in general, is that something needs to be cataloging all that information. Now, you can cheat a little bit and open Studio Monitor and on like a Windows PC, open Studio Monitor on that network and look at those 3 cameras, like right click and see the cameras that are on your system. Or so you said, how many cameras did you say? You didn't say, but anyways, you have a couple of cameras. If you open Studio Monitor, what that will do is force the broadcast to happen. And if you hit search NDI right then, it will find them. But it will eventually drop them because the broadcasts don't go out all the time unless you're operating in DHCP or you're operating in Discovery Server. Those are your 2 options. So we stopped saying you should be able to do it. Customers are getting so mad at us for basically saying like, it should work. Instead, we just tell you flat out, this is required. Either DHCP system or Discovery Server on static. Those are your avenues. Hopefully that's straightforward enough for you to know what needs to happen. But feel free to jump in the chat and let me know more about your specific situation. I could even pull up a ticket number if you want to send that over and take a look at your initial comment. In other news, besides my truck breaking down and me having to take my wife and kids to school, and then I've got to pick her up after the show, like right after the show. And then she's going to bring me back here, and then she's going to have the car, and she's going to get the kids, and then we got Christmas programs, and blah, 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 blah. Besides all of that going on, I do want to do this actual like purposed show here, but there are lots of things kind of like moving about that we're trying to kind of keep track of. So today's show is going to be a little shorter, and I definitely want to talk about integrating Companion. I want to be sure Joshua's taken care of here with his NDI question, because that's the whole point of this show, is what he's doing right here. So Joshua, feel free to jump in, let me know any more details, or say like, okay, this is how it's set up, or this is what's going on. But hopefully that synopsis was at least a little bit helpful going forward. So we're going to do that. What else do I got going on? I'm using these training videos and uploading them to my birddogjon site, and also sending them to the education portion of our system that'll become available a little bit later. So that's happening. We need to have Stream Dudes. They reached out to me yesterday. Chris, if you're watching, I got your email. We need to have Stream Dudes on here to talk about this stuff because that's super important. But we're running out of time. The end of the year is very close to being here, and we definitely need to cover some stuff before the end of the year happens. And then in the new year, I have a couple of days off in the new year right away that I won't be here for the Thursday show on the 4th. And so I might give the reins to somebody and see how that goes. But I also might try and do a show on the 2nd. And so I know that a lot of you guys will be on holiday. But and happy holidays, by the way. It is that time of year. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas. We celebrate Christmas in my home, so I have no issue with that. But drop a Merry Christmas or a Happy Holidays in the chat if you're hanging out with us today. And you can do that on birddogjon.tv. That is where you can interact with me in the chat, just like Joshua's doing. And his internet cut out, it looks like. So he's going to review and then let me know if there's anything else that he needs to cover. Back to the P200 here today. The last show we did, I was on a P110 because we showcased the P200. And that video that I've shortened and trimmed and cut and rendered is going to be online tomorrow at 9 a.m. So if you're thinking about buying a P200, the live stream that I did on Tuesday is an overview of that. It's like an hour long. Whoops-a-daisy, guys. I'm really sorry about that. But it's an hour long. It goes over everything of the P200, if that's useful to you. But there'll be a shortened video. That is an hour, but there'll be without the live stream pieces and the snacks on stream that we did. That will be available tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, right on my channel at, you guessed it, birddogjon.tv. So be sure to check that out. Always fun to get feedback. I see all of the comments, and so if you have comments about the content or if you have additional questions or you just want to say, hey, thanks for this, all that stuff, I read all that stuff, and it's always appreciated. So, yeah, feel free to comment on all those videos. Always fun to have you guys along for that. All right. While Joshua is reviewing that, I'm going to do a quick little tutorial about Companion and StreamDeck and Emulator. And I'm not going to show you my StreamDeck particular because it's set up for the StreamDeck Legato stuff. But I am going to show you the Emulator and how we can access all of our settings for StreamDeck remotely, because I think it's a great little feature that's unsung. So let's cut over. I need to do a start up my desktop capture, evidently. So we're going to go screen. Oh, yeah. And to add to the craziness, so I got to the office super early today, was editing that P200 video, and then had a dentist appointment. And they scraped and did all sorts of stuff with my teeth. So yeah, that Marmite was the first thing that really I had tasted after having a cleaning done, which was basically like a deep cleaning. So yeah, yikes, it was a doozy. Oh, hey, and it looks like Josh got back to me. So he says, hey, I have a managed switch. Cameras are set to static right now. Let me flip one of them, the cams to DHCP and the PTZ keyboard to PTZ, to DHCP. I can set reservations if I needed to on the switch. Oh, sweet. It sounds like you already know all of this. I have lots of video on networking and that sort of thing, but I promise you, if you set up a DHCP and both the keyboard and the camera get DHCP assigned addresses, and then you hit search, you will find that camera. If everything's functioning on the latest firmware, you will find that. Oh yeah, update the firmware if you haven't done that. You will find that camera on the keyboard. If it's a BirdDog camera, no problem. So good stuff. Okay, let's do our little tutorial. And then I can make this available for my friend that I did a support call for the other day over in Vancouver. She was setting up her cameras in her, it was a Jewish temple. Anyways, really cool. Cool little install. And she had StreamDeck, and she had a keyboard, and she had some cameras, and a couple of networking issues. We found out it was OBS. So... So whatever, we figured it out. We got her up and running and streaming again, nice and smooth, and the cameras are performing perfectly. But she had a question about accessing all of her presets remotely. And so let's talk about that concept now, okay? Okay, we want to spend a few minutes today talking about how to access your presets, how to control your camera in a remote location. And there is a free way to do it that you should totally be doing if you aren't already. So we already know that Google Chrome Remote is a WebRTC service that works pretty fast if you have a decent connection, okay? A decent internet connection on the remote site and on the production site, I guess, like the home site and the remote site, right? If you've got good internet on both, you can pretty much run vmix over Chrome Remote. I've done it. I have also video edited over Chrome Remote. It works. I have also done many functions this way. And so I'm a strong believer in the product as of today that it's suitable for doing this sort of thing. Well, what you can do is you can download Companion, okay, from Bitfocus. So just go to Google, bitfocus.io, and download Companion, the latest version. And inside Companion, you can go and set up a StreamDeck emulator and then program a web page essentially to call all your presets. So let me show you how to do that, and then we can definitely check that out. So first thing that I want to do is I'm going to cut over to this desktop overlay, and to make this maybe a little bit simpler for all of us, let me just change this real quick so that we can all participate in this. Where are we here? Come on now. This one. Nope, not that one. Hold, please. This one. Okay, so let's cut over here. Now, I realize that it's a little bit tricky to see the screen, and I'll go to full screen in a few minutes when I need you to see details. But this is what, when you install Companion, it will open like a little thing that looks like this, okay? And it'll say, like, which network do you want to function on, especially if you have multiples? And so I want to pick my network that is the one network. It's my main home network here, okay? So it's my main network. I'm going to select main birddog1, and that's not going to change anything, but it will give me an IP address, which is my computer's IP address, 102. It will give me an IP address with a basically like a web browser or a link that I can get to a web browser. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say launch GUI, all right, user interface. And when I launch that, it's going to launch this page right here. Now, it also launched it 2 places over here. But it's going to launch this page that you see right here. So when we launch, there'll be no connections when you launch. And we're going to add a connection. And we're going to add whatever else is that we want to control. Now, in this instance, I have a P200. I also have a 110 that's off to my side. And so we're definitely going to talk about that P200. When we add it, okay, we're going to say connection, add a connection. And in the latest version of Companion, we can actually add BirdDog cameras natively. Stinking cool, eh? So we go here and say BirdDog PTZ, and it will add this. We need to know the IP address of the camera, okay? So this is 77.77, so I put that in here, 192.168. 77.77. And then we can say auto detect BirdDog model, or we can say, I know exactly what it is. It's a P200 A2 A3. And we can say save. And look, it adds that camera here. Now I can change the label, and I want to do that, P200-2, because it's the second connection I want to use, okay? So I'm going to save this, and look, it gives me the status that it is green. We're good to go. Green check is always good. We can also manually turn these connections on and off inside of Companion itself. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go to Surfaces, and I want to say Add Emulator. When you click on this, it's going to add a line to your emulator list, okay? And let's see here which ones. Okay, so it will click it. Now I already have an emulator here because I use it occasionally, but I've clicked Add Emulator, and look, it makes this little ID that says Emulator, okay? So it'll make a line item say emulator. Now, I also have an X keys in here that I use to control all of my stuff. And so when I'm using X keys, I'm using it right now to switch between these two scenes. This is where I program my X keys inside Companion, and it works fantastic. And it even manipulates the feedback light. So yes, yes, yes. It's such a great little tool. I love Companion. You need to check it out if you don't know anything about it yet. It's great. Okay, so we're going to add the emulator here on the surface. Now what we want to do is click up here on buttons. Okay, and that's going to take us to this screen. Now, this screen is showing my, essentially my X keys layout. All right, so this is the X keys itself and how it is that how I have it all programmed. But we can actually change pages here and program different pages if we want. And so we can add buttons. We could just run this normal, like if I wanted all my X keys buttons, for example, available on the emulator, I could do that. But we're going to actually go back to page 99. What I am going to do, just for purposes here, is I'm going to create a button and just say page down. And then on the next page, so if I click this, it should go down to 99. And then here, I'm going to say page up, just so I don't get locked out. Okay. What we can do now is we can view this emulator on the computer. And so if you can remote into your production studio and you're in some remote site and you still need to run Sunday's show, you can, or whichever day, you can actually just pull up Emulator on a web UI and pull up vmix and split the screen or do a 2/3, 1/3 split screen or whatever you'd like to do to run the emulator. So I can like program these buttons now, right? So look, when I've added that connection for the P200, I'm going to click over here on this here presets, and it's going to give me all my connections. So I have a vmix connection, my original P200 connection, but today I've added that P200_2. I'm going to click on that, and it gives me all of the programmed options that I can pull onto those buttons and set up my StreamDeck as I want to. Now, it can also manipulate the X keys, right? So if you want it to be connected to X keys, you can do that. But in this instance, I'm going to program page 99, and we are going to put some preset recalls in there. So we're going to go over here to the right-hand side, and with my PTZ P200, second connection, but P200, I'm going to say the button presets. And here we can say preset recall 1, preset recall 2, 3 and 4. What I can also do, though, is I can mix and match. And so if I wanted to, for example, have some control and be able to move the camera around, well, we have some broad general controls that we can use. And so maybe I want to set up kind of like an easy left, right, up, down. But then I want to have a home position recorded, right? And well, that's preset 1 is generally everyone's home position. So I can put that here on the list as well. So now I have a way to touch the screen and control the camera. Now, does it work? That's the next question, right? Well, we can actually click on the button and send a test and say, does it work? Well, we can test the command, and lo and behold, now it works. Now, if I hit preset recall, is it going to jack up my colors? We'll find out here in a second, I guess. If we recall the position, yoink, hey-oh, it's pretty close. So we can test the buttons before we use them and then get them into position and start testing and calling those things. But now I want to actually use it, right? So I want to see this thing actually. Whoops, sorry everybody. I'm adjusting my camera and it does not like studio monitor for some reason. Whoa, that's weird. Doing this in studio monitor and it's sending like those commands way too far. Way too far. All right, so let's call this again. Test. And hopefully we will go back to our home position here. Okay, there we go. So let's live with this for now, and I'll just slouch a little bit. So we can call each of our presets. Now, the question is then, when I remote in, how do I pull this up? Well, what we can do is you would start from scratch, right? So we're going to pull up, and you'd open Companion, and you're going to get this little screen, right? And we're going to say launch the UI. And it will take your default router and launch the actual web UI. Then we're going to say we want to go to Surfaces, all right? And I'm sorry, and then we go over here to the left-hand side next to all of those buttons and say Emulator. It will take us to a screen, and that white box is actually a button. And so we can say Emulator. And now I have all of my buttons that were available on StreamDeck. And so if I click down, look, it takes me to that page that I had just programmed. So now I can click on these buttons, and they should work in real time. If I hold it down, yoink, yoink, hello. So I can actually manually do this. Now remember, there are actually speed controls as well that are useful when it comes to actually I have to like click it. There are speed controls that we can also put on this screen. So we go back to Companion, we go back to Buttons, and maybe we want to change. We're going to go down to page 99 where all this is, and we're going to say P200. We're going to say Camera Control, and then I'm going to say, let's see, what button is this? These are actual pan speed, tilt speed, zoom speed. These are all ups. Now, for your reference, preset speed. Are these both presets? Let's take a look. Yep, preset speeds. So if I go back to my emulator, here I can show you this full screen so you can follow along. If I go back to my emulator, now if I lower this, oh, that's so stinking cool. we can lower the speed on the presets. And so now if I call a preset, well, let's move me out of position real quick and send that move command. Then if I recall this preset, yes, it is a fair bit slower. So this is preset speed. Now I want to change my movement speed. So cam control, my pan speed is going to be here, which is this one. My tilt speed is going to be here, which is this one, which pan speed is the one we're going to manipulate first. And then my zoom speed is going to be over here. Why not? So zoom speed 7. All right. So now we head back to the emulator. And look, all my buttons are now programmed. And I can say preset speeds down. I would like to change the pan speeds to go down. So we can just move these down so that it's not at full speed, because when you press the buttons manually, and again, you're probably going to be calling presets when you are running this remotely, because watching all of this in real time, it would be better if you had a joystick, but you can't. So now if we press over, it's much slower than before. Much slower than before, okay? Really useful stuff. That's even like usable, to be honest with you, okay? So it's a whole lot slower, and you can kind of get it into position, but then I really like this preset recall button, and I can get me back in my home position. So ideally, if I were thinking about a workflow option, I would probably decide that I wanted to set all my presets up before I left for my vacation or my remote, visit. And then if I have presets 1, 2, 3, and 4, I can just program them here on the emulator, pull it up on the web UI, and now I have full control of my StreamDeck that I had before. And I can call all those buttons if I need to, and I would camp out in the preset recall. Ideally, I would have one wide shot as an establishing shot, and I'd use the PTZs to kind of have home positions on key places inside the auditorium that I was filming in. So that is how I would think that through, and you can do this all with Companion BitFocus. They do require your email address to be shared, but it is a free download, and you do not have to have a StreamDeck to get this to work. Matter of fact, my StreamDeck is not even it isn't even connected to Companion. My StreamDeck is connected to the StreamDeck software for sound effects reasons.
How neat is that?
And I use my X keys, which is connected to Companion, and then I use the emulator for everything else. So pretty stinking cool, and it's a great little way to maximize free resources, and Companion is a great app. Now, sidebar, BirdDog did not design the plugin for Companion. It's all done by third party, and so if you are experiencing issues with it connecting or your stuff not working correctly, you have to reach out to the Reddit forums where this is all hosted, or to the support department at BitFocus to ask that question, because we don't have anything to do with it. They just took our API commands and integrated them into the buttons. So that's it. I hope this is helpful. It's a free resource. It's really great. I love Companion. I use it every time I go live, and hopefully you will find a good use for it too. So we'll see you in the next one. Okay, I'm going to cut that up and use that as a little tutorial that I'm going to use. Hopefully you guys have found that helpful, and let me know in the chat what you think about Companion. Companion is a great little resource, so always good stuff. Can you put the video in the chat, please? I have a Windows device in the system network. Whoops, sorry. And I could run the Discovery server on it. Also, I have 9 cameras. Hey, thanks for all this info. It's super helpful. Also, what's the latest firmware? I couldn't find the download on the BirdDog site. Yes, so the keyboard, you need to actually contact the help desk for that, so we can get that sent over to you. That's no problem. The latest firmware is, I think the one they're giving out is 2.2.4. Firmware 2.2.4. If you have that or later, you're good. And then for the camera, the latest is 2.7.3. 2.7.3? For the cameras, NDI5. I believe it's 2.7.3, but I might be getting my firmware numbers mixed up. But anyways, yes. So let me put that video in the chat for you real quick, and I will make those dreams come true. Okay, here we go. Content. And everything keyboard. Where is it here? I have a funny little goofy face with it. Where is it? search your channel for keyboard. Keyboard basics. Here we go. This is the one. And this one goes to 11. So, yeah, some from a previous show, but it is only... oh, shoot. There it was right there. Back. It is a 20-minute video, and it shows everything from top to bottom. So I don't think I had the latest firmware on this one, but the concepts are all the same, and so you should be good to go there. At Joshua, whoopsie. There you go. And hopefully that will be a big help for you. That would be great. Good stuff, everybody. All right, let me jump into socials and just make sure that's buttoned up. We do have a really short show today because I have to go and pick up my wife, and that's why I didn't want to do a whole product overview. Next week, I'll at least do one. I have slated 2 right now, but I also need to get some guys on the show and do like some interviews, and Stream Dudes is one of those. So I need to get Chris and John on the show, and I've been trying to get our new BirdDog employee, I guess. BirdDog, one of the new guys in leadership. His name is Joshua Bernstein. He's been in the chat a fair bit. You guys already know him. I want to get him on the show, get him on camera, and let him interact with you guys. So that'll be a really great show. I'm trying to coordinate that. He lives in California, so it's kind of early. It's like first thing in the morning for him. It's 8 o'clock over there, so I understand why his schedule isn't necessarily free at this time, because I'm not ready to be on camera at 8 o'clock. So, and he is doing so much that he's on camera probably all day long. So yeah, waking up early to continue to be on camera is probably not in his best. It's not the first thing on his to-do list. Just like eating Marmite for breakfast. I will chop that Snacks on Stream up from today, the little Marmite episode, and make that available as well, because that was good fun. This coffee is going cold, so I better either drink it or give it up. Ooh. It's not great. Well, thanks for coming along for the show, everybody. I know that this has been kind of a whirlwind. We started 5 minutes late, so I will go 5 minutes over. But, yeah, what a day. What a week. This has been incredibly busy. There's a lot on my mind right now. And then yesterday driving home, my truck breaks, and I was like, that's just perfect. It's just perfect. If it could be perfect, it is perfect. So I'm going to eat this piece of toast that I brought, because I hate watching food go. I'm that dad that eats his kids' food that they don't eat, because I don't want food to go without being eaten. And butter on toast is always good. So I'm not going to put more Marmite on it, but it's really good. Cool, guys. Well, put something in the chat if you have a question. Let me know if you are hanging out with us today. If not, all good. And we will catch you guys again on Tuesday. The plan is to be back. And now next week is our last week of the year. And we will be closing the office on Friday. So Thursday will be the last working day here in the office. And then Friday, which is the 22nd, will be basically part of the holidays that we're giving the guys. And then we'll be closed the following week. And we'll reopen on the Wednesday. Now, if you've been playing along, you may have heard me say that I might try and do a show on Tuesday, the 2nd, because I'll be gone on the Thursday, the 4th. So, still want to do a show with you. I know many of you will be on holiday, so it'll be a pretty light episode. But, yeah, we should hang out. And maybe you'll be done with being festive and you'll want to get back to business. And so, we'll talk NDI. I will definitely probably do a full product guide that day, just to make good use of that time. And then, yeah. And then we'll keep going. So good stuff. All right. I don't see much going on in the chat. If you're over on Twitch or on Facebook, I can't see your comments because for some reason vmix Social will not connect to those platforms. I will jump into Facebook, but Twitch won't open on this computer for me for some reason. So maybe I need to like flush the cache and try again. But let's see nobody commented over on the live stream today, so that's good. We haven't missed anything. I mean, it's not good, but we haven't missed anything. So all good there. Just want to double check and make sure you guys are good to go. And then let's give Twitch another little try here and see if it loads. I highly doubt it will. But you watch, it'll load at the end of the show. Hey, also, after you're done hanging out with me, you should subscribe to birddogjon.tv because that is always super helpful. And this channel has grown like wildfire this past month. So if you want to do that, you should. But also, there's a great show on once a week on Tom Sinclair's channel, Eastern Shore Broadcasting, and he talks everything streaming beyond BirdDog and NDI. He's a vmix guy. He's really knowledgeable. He's always got a great show. So be sure that you go over and subscribe to his show and join him on Wednesday afternoons because it's always great. Stockwork Orange says, how about the opportunity to set a VLAN on devices to pre-configure the installation for installations that changes? How about the opportunity to set a VLAN on a device? Well, VLANs are governed on the network layer, so you wouldn't do it on the individual device. You would do it only on the port that you are configuring on the switch. So when we create VLANs in the networking side of things, at least to try not to overcomplicate it, we like to operate in DHCP. I mean, it's the easiest and it's the least amount of headaches because we use the DHCP reservation list. So we can still assign IP addresses. But we operate in DHCP, but while we're doing that, we're usually creating a VLAN for our NDI network. And so ideally, this isn't the only way to do it, but ideally, you would have a VLAN for your NDI devices and computers that are connecting to that network. And well, devices is the right word. But your NDI devices, it wouldn't be on your general network. Okay, you'd isolate it with a proper VLAN that's DHCP governed, that has its own IP range. And because what happens with VLANs is that the VLAN tag gets added to the packet that's on that port, which then further on down the road, those packets don't interact with each other. And so it's actually a function for the network to know which data is which. It's not necessarily something that you would configure on the device level. The device should literally just plug in and turn on. That's all the device network configuration you should have to do at that point. When you are setting up the network, you want to isolate your own NDI network. For example, our data network here is 192.168.1, but then my studio is a NDI data network, and it is 4250 with the NDI5 profile, and that is 192.168.77, and the VLAN is VLAN 77. And so then that's my studio VLAN. And so all of these cameras can't be used or seen elsewhere outside of this VLAN. It's isolated, but then it creates really a high performance level when it comes to actually using them. And so I've got 2 gigs into the computer through a fiber card, and then I've got, so no issue bringing in those sources into the 77, and then I've got an actual network connection, Ethernet connection out to the data network, which sends all of this stuff up to YouTube and Twitch and Facebook. So that's where you would set VLAN stuff, not necessarily on the device level, but on the network level. And then whatever you plug in gets that VLAN tag, because your network will add that tag when the packet arrives on the network side. Hopefully that was helpful. Cool. All right. So, a couple things. Don't forget to hit up the birddogjon.tv site. I'm uploading stuff on there fairly regularly right now. So if you want to see helpful tips and tricks and all that stuff, go over there and subscribe to that channel. It's also how you can talk to me on this channel, is to subscribe to the show. So I'm always thankful for anybody who's able to do that. And plan to be with us on Tuesday, Thursdays from 11 to 12 Eastern Time. Now, this next week is the last time we're going to do that this year, and then we'll start up again the first week that we're back. The office is closed on Friday, the 22nd. I believe it's the 22nd, which is basically like Christmas Eve observed. Yeah, the 22nd, which is a week Friday, okay? And then we will reopen on the 3rd, on the Wednesday. Now, I might try and come in and work on the 2nd and do a show, work a little bit, and do a show, because I'm going to be gone on the 4th. And so we definitely want to be available and be ready to chat. And if you're having issues over Christmas and you need someone to talk to, January 2nd, I'm hoping to be on the show pending approval from my family, because it'll be taking time away from them. So other than that, thanks, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. It looks like the chat is quiet, and so I'll take this opportunity to sign off and show my appreciation. It has been a blast, and I really appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. If you have any questions between now and Tuesday, help@birddog.tv. These are your best friends. They'll try and get back to you as quick as they can. We have a little bit of a backlog when it comes to tickets, because we're moving some elements around here, and so it's taking us a little bit longer to get back to everything, just truthfully. So give us a little bit of time. We'll work with you and try and get in touch with you. Otherwise, if you need immediate answers and you're kind of in a pickle, I strongly recommend that you get involved in things like the Facebook user group. I strongly recommend that you get in touch with things like the NDI Facebook user group. There's actually an NDI specific one. But also that you make good friends in the industry, because BirdDog, the manufacturer, doesn't have necessarily like drop everything and call us type of service. It's a pretty small team. I've only got 2 ticketing agents, and so they work really hard, but they don't work around the clock. So I have to give us some time to get back to you. So really strongly recommend that if you're in the NDI game, you get involved in the online communities that are 24/7, but then you also probably talk to some NDI integrators and people that are on that level, and be sure that you have those resources in your back pocket as well if you run into like a day of production problems, okay? So do your due diligence. That's always a sign of a great install, is when you are when you have multiple levels of resources at your disposal. And so make good use of those opportunities as they come about. So one follow-up here. If you could set up the device and pre-configure the switch to VLAN tag, you could just use every port, plug in the device, and get the right IP address for NDI VLAN. I'm not that good with my English, sorry. You can. Yeah, you can, I guess, like an IP range identifier, but you're overcomplicating it. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't assign VLANs, multiple VLANs to the same port, just because you're asking. It doesn't really, like it logically it separates them, but it kind of violates the purpose of VLANs, like the fundamentals of VLANs. And like I've seen it done. But if I was to tell somebody, if somebody comes to me and says, how do I configure my network for NDI? I'm going to say VLAN your network, DHCP enabled, single subnet, 22255, and never the two, data and NDI should not touch each other. And so until the point of, convergence, which would be on your vmix machine or something like that. But yeah, doing it where pre-configuring your device to take us, yes, but I don't think you should expect that from what these network devices are, the actual NDI devices, the network device interfaces. They're nodes on a network. They're not computers. They're just nodes. They're just doing a function, and quite frankly, they're expecting to be given an IP address. Doing anything else beyond that is basically asking it to do something beyond its like core intention. And so it's possible to set static and to do things like configure everything on the device. I think that that's an enormous waste of your time. Be more intuitive with your NDI network. I'll say it. Be more intuitive with your network designs by managing it in a singular place, like on the router level, on the layer 3 level. Bring your, because the MAC ranges are all going to be very similar. So it's easy to identify the devices just even based off a MAC address. So why would you overcomplicate it by setting things individually on devices? Like, what if you want to add a device? Now you got to touch that device. Now you got to touch every device if you want anything to change on the network. Forget that. Make the changes at the layer 3 and then reboot the router and then be done with it and reboot the PoE switch. And everything will take the change. But if you're doing it on an individual level, if you're integrating this for a customer, you're setting them up to fail as far as I'm concerned. It might be convenient and it might logically make sense, and that's the way that the AV industry has worked for an age. But you're not making it accessible for the customer, and you could just say, look, everything is governed from this page right here. So if we want to add a device, we punch in the MAC address, which is on the bottom of the device, and we say assign it that IP address. We hit apply and we plug it in. That IP address comes online, it gets that IP address, and we save and we leave. Instead of plug it in, open Studio Monitor, find out the IP address, go to the web UI, set all this information, don't screw it up. That has to be perfectly installed, including the gateway. Everything has to be perfect. And then power cycle, restart, verify that's right. It's the total waste of their time and yours. If you register the MAC address on the layer 3 in the DHCP reservation, you only have to do it once. And by the way, that IP address will then never be leased by your DHCP to any other device ever until you change it. Whoa, my camera just died. That's weird. In a perfect spot too. That was amazing. But I think that it's definitely it overcomplicates it for the customer. I don't think that that's the correct method. I think that we're supposed to be making things accessible for people, right? And so I would strongly encourage, I'm going to switch to my P4K here because my 200 is frozen. That's not a good sign. Yeah, so don't overcomplicate it for your customer. Make it super simple. And if you're doing it yourself, make it easy for yourself. Don't spend all that time customizing and touching every single endpoint. What a waste of time. Read the MAC address on the bottom. Better yet, you could scan the MAC address on the bottom, punch it into your DHCP reservation, give it the IP address you want, plug it in, power it up, make sure it gets it. That's it. And then plug it in anywhere on your VLAN then, and it will always work. So yeah, I'm a strong opponent to doing everything static. I think it's it just doesn't work, and it requires such a high level of vigilance that there's no way that you can actually make sure that it's rock solid every time, because there's the human element of it happens way more often than you think it does. You have no idea how many times people contact and say, I fat fingered the password, can you log in and help me reset it? We do that all the time because people think, I need to change the password, if you have mobile devices that change locations in schools or something, but thanks for explaining it. Yeah, again, I would much rather make it at the networking level. I would rather manage my devices at the layer 3 and not at the layer 2, because seriously, it's going to be way more work. Wouldn't it be great, for example, for you to be able to manage your entire NDI fleet by sitting down and looking at one screen, never having to go to the device? If it malfunctions, never having to go and take it down. You could just sit and manage everything from the computer screen. And you can do that with networks interfaces. You can just do that here. But instead, you've got to if you want to statically set things up, you got to log into every single one and change every single thing and make sure you don't screw it up. That sounds like a disaster to me. It sounds like the potential for failure is high. And my interest is making sure that customers don't fail. And so don't do that. Just use the layer 3 and let the network manage the network, and let the device do its thing, which is make NDI and put it on the network. So sorry, that got off to a bit of a rant. Great question, by the way. Fantastic question. That's my subjective opinion about how that should be done. But there you go. And you'll find out. I have an opinion. Great question, Stockwork. Really appreciate that. All right, guys, I do have to get going, and my 200 is definitely frozen, so I'm going to have to power cycle that guy. But I hope you're having a great week. Looking forward to a great weekend. We're coming up on the holidays, so happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate. And we will be looking for you next Tuesday at 11 o'clock right here. We're going to do a product walk around, I think, unless I'm going to do an interview. So pay attention to the YouTube page, which is, say it with me now, birddogjon.tv. The YouTube page. Subscribe over there and be notified through YouTube when I go live. That's where we're at. I put everything that I do in this studio on that page. So subscribe for me. That would be a big help. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care of yourselves. It's been a blast. Bye.
Everything's coming up Millhouse.
Resistance is futile.